What's happening, people, and welcome to the Rambling Dad podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a video over the UFC 307 recap. Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree Jr. And my days, did we have some wicked fights to talk about. Also, some controversial points, some wild reffing, some wild judging in there. Some people thought some split decisions should have gone some other ways. But let's not waste any more time and let's get stuck into it. If you're new to the channel, please make sure that you're dropping a sub. Drop a like on the video and jump in the comments and let me know your thoughts about the stuff that we are going to talk about today. First up, Court McGee versus Tim Means, welterweight bout. And Court McGee turned up to fight. Straight out of the bat, you know what I mean? Round one finish by a rear naked choke. Couldn't go any better than that for Court McGee. A lot of people were riding on Tim Means, but it just didn't seem to go that way for him. 19 strikes to 12 for Tim. But even when you were watching the fight, you could just see Tim just wasn't ready for the onslaught that Court McGee brought into that fight. Significant strikes is 14 for Court McGee and 5 for Tim Means. You know what I mean? Took his back pretty early on, secured that rear naked choke, and that was all that she wrote. Obviously, training, fighting out of Salt Lake City himself. Court McGee was quite emotional at the end of that fight, but boom, got it done, baby. Moving on to the next one. You had Khalil Rountree versus Tisha Pennington. This was Khalil Rountree's retirement fight in the women's strawweight bout. Obviously a two-time champ previously throughout her career. And this was one that had some controversial talking points. Ended up going to a unanimous decision to Tisha Pennington, where a lot of people thought Khalil Rountree had taken that fight. Personally, I don't think she got it done. But when you're looking over the stats, it was 116 total strikes for Khalil Rountree to Tisha Pennington's 94. And then you had 4 takedowns out of 7 for Khalil 2. And then you look at the significant strikes, though, we had 39 to 80. And it was the significant strikes from Tisha Pennington that clearly got this one over the line. Like I said, watching the fight, I had it for Tisha Pennington. I thought it was a close fight. I actually thought it was going to go to split decision, if I'm honest with you. But either way, one of these ladies could have won, and you couldn't have been too mad at it. But when I was watching it, I did think Tisha Pennington took that one. Like it shows in the stats there, she was landing the more significant strikes. She was a lot more accurate with it. She just obviously never had the volume. When you're talking volume, you're talking, what, a 22 strike difference in volume? But she was landing the stronger shots. She was knocking Khalil Rountree back a little bit. Obviously, in the first round, Khalil Rountree managed to take her down to the ground. And I'd probably give round one to Khalil Rountree, to be honest with you. She seemed to take that one right at the end. She nicked it. Obviously, Tisha was lighting her up a little bit on the feet at the start of that round. Then she took her down and she had that control time. I'm not sure if this will tell me how much control time she had in that first round. No, it doesn't. Again, can you really argue? But like we say, Khalil Rountree's fight was a retirement fight, and she went out with a bit of a bang. Joe Rogan was almost crying. Kid was there in a Cookie Monster onesie. That was cute as anything. You know what I mean? That was adorable to see. But I had Tisha Pennington taking this one, and I know a lot of people on Twitter and online, Reddit, and wherever else, Instagram, wherever people want to post their opinions these days, all thought that Khalil Rountree had taken this fight, but personally, I didn't think that she did. Moving on from that one, we had the light heavyweight bout in Ryan Spann and Ovin St. Peru. I had Ryan Spann to take this one by knockout. I did not see him getting the gilly. Jumped the gilly goose gang, got the performance of the night. Mate, kind of thought it was going to go that way. I knew he would win. Like I say, I just wasn't expecting submission to come out of there at all. Total strikes 9-7 for Ovin St. Peru. This fight did not last too long at all. It was just a few minutes. They weren't really throwing much. But what was thrown, Ryan Spann landed on Ovin St. Peru and kind of knocked him back. You seen he was wobbled. And I thought, here we go. Here comes a KO, TKO. But nah, instead, jumped on him. Ovin St. Peru, I'm not sure if he went for a takedown. He might have done, and then Ryan Spann just straight away locked in that gilly and just dropped down on top of him and just was like, nope, this is happening. And you've seen him tap pretty quickly. That was in tight. That was in very, very tight. Kicking off the prelims, we had Cesar Almeida and Iho Pereira. Or Potiera.
What? What?
However you want to say his name. I'm butchering these people. Here we go. So, back to the old ways. Cesar Almeida, total strikes at 78. Iho Pereira at 57. Iho went for 8 takedowns and managed to secure 3 of them. There's only 1 sub-attempt, and that was from Cesar Almeida, apparently. 1 reversal and 57 significant strikes to 44 significant strikes for Iho. This was a wild fight, ladies and gentlemen. The referee in this one must have been smoking crack before he came in there. And at the end, when they were actually announcing the fight, and obviously the decision went to Cesar Almeida, when they were announcing who won the fight, the referee's jaw was swinging. He was chewing on something. That man had been taking some uppers all night before he got into that cage. There was 3 eye pokes in this one. 3.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
No.
In the heat of controversy, he don't miss.
No.
And not a single warning. And as well as 3 eye pokes, there was also a nut shot. And this ref was 2 feet away from these fighters at the entire time, not saying a single thing, not giving any hard warnings to Cesar Almeida, not taking any points. His hands were up in the air, his fingers were out. It's clearly going to happen. And the guy just wasn't giving anything. It was the wildest refereeing that you have ever seen in the longest time. Everybody was going nuts about what the hell's going on here. You know what I mean? This dude was breaking up the fight when they were in the clinch. He was resetting the situation and resetting them when there was clearly movement. People were throwing strikes. People were trying to escape. Well, I say people, there's only 2 people in a fight. But, mate, what was this ref doing? It was absolutely bananas. It was fucking bonkers, whatever that ref was planning on doing that night. And thankfully, they removed him from the rest of the night. He never got to be a ref on another fight that night because that shit was wild. I mean, there was one fight he probably would have been a good ref on, and that was the co-main event. But moving on from that one, we had Austin Hubbard versus Alexander Hernandez. And this one went to a split decision for Alexander Hernandez. Some people thought Austin Hubbard won. Personally, Hernandez looked phenomenal. His takedown defense was on point. As you can see there, Austin Hubbard went for 12 takedowns and never secured one of them. Never got one of them. You know what I mean? His striking was crisp. His lateral movement was crisp. He was in and out. He was following up with the jab. He was landing that mean. It was either a left or a right hook. And he just kept catching Hubbard with it at all times. But Hubbard did throw himself and he did land some decent strikes too. But again, split decision. I ain't arguing with that one. I thought Alexander Hernandez. I backed Alexander Hernandez before the fight and I thought he had it. I had 9 of the fights correct in a row until we got to the last 3 fights, but we'll get around to them anyway. Every single pick I had right leading up into this card. So we had total strikes of 65 for Austin Hubbard and 91 for Alexander Hernandez. We had, like I say, takedowns 12 attempts for Austin Hubbard and he never got one. The sprawls, just the moving out of the way, just keeping the distance and making sure that he wasn't going to be landing them, the hopping on a foot and getting to the cage. Anything he had to do, Alexander Hernandez was on it. Moving down to that significant strike, 63 for Hubbard and 79 for Alexander Hernandez. So in my eyes, the rightful winner got this one. I don't think you can argue really too much. The damage from Austin Hubbard was probably looking a little bit more because I think Alexander Hernandez had his nose bleeding a little bit, but other than that, it wasn't substantial enough that you could have led to Austin Hubbard. And I'm sure there might have even been a 30-27 or something in there. There was some wild judging on this night too. Some absolutely wild judging. But hey ho, split decision. Alexander Hernandez got the job done. And he'll move on to do whatever he wants, whether it's in lightweight or whatever weight class he wants the body go to. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of in between at the moment. Next up, we had Marina Rodriguez versus Jasmine Lucindo. And again, I think this one went to another split decision. Second split decision of the night. A lot of people are arguing that Marina Rodriguez got this one done for the damage. She was landing some heavier strikes. She did put her on her ass a couple of times, but I think the control time, the takedowns, as well as the activity in the strikes was fairly decent from both of these ladies. You know what I mean? I thought that Jasmine Lucindo done enough to get this one done as well. And again, I backed Jasmine Lucindo. So we had 65 total strikes for Rodriguez, 55 for Lucindo, 1 takedown out of 1 for Rodriguez and 3 out of 4 for Jasmine Lucindo. And then we moved down 33 significant strikes for Rodriguez and 30 for Lucindo. Like I say, every round 1, 2, and 3, it was back and forth. Both of these ladies were going. Rodriguez clearly just wanted the fight to be on the feet, but Jasmine Lucindo was doing really well at going for that double leg, tripping her up and getting her down to the ground and then just controlling it from there. I would have liked to see a little bit more. At times, they did actually get stood up at one point. Might have even been Mark Goddard, who usually kind of just lets things play out. Seems like on this night that a lot of refs were resetting the situation. A lot of refs were resetting what was going on, which was pretty interesting to see. As they've been word in the back where they've gone, right, we want more action. If they're sitting in this position and not doing anything, get them up and get them moved. But it also takes away some of the technical parts of the game when they do go to the ground. I like the ground game. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people would rather see it being striking fights. But if you want that, just go and watch kickboxing. It's MMA at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So yeah, Lucindo took her down to the ground, done what she needed to do, but she was getting hurt on the feet when she was up there. She was landing some nice 1-2s herself, but Rodriguez clearly had more power in her hands and was clearly landing the more significant strikes on the night. But like I say a second ago, there was times where I would have preferred to see Lucindo move away from side control into half guard, try and go for mount. I think there was even a time that she did get to mount and just started trying to strike on her a little bit, which, fair enough, that's what we want to see. Overall, decent scrap, better than the co-main. Jasmine Lucindo got it done. Here we go, people. The featured prelim. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. And this was an absolute banger. Straight out the gate, Joaquin Buckley picks up Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, drops him, you know what I mean? Drops him straight down. But Wonderboy is too good, too experienced, got back to the cage, managed to get back to his feet and took it back to where he wanted it to be. If we have a look at the strikes, we had 63 total strikes for Wonderboy, 55 for Buckley. Then we move on down, 4 out of 7 takedowns for Buckley. And he was trying like a dog, bro. Like, he was running. He was, to be fair, in the first round, I think he was pushing for that takedown a little bit too hard. I mean, you don't want to stand there and fight with somebody like Wonderboy. You just don't want to take those kicks. He was getting that sneaky one over the shoulder landing constantly. The body kicks were heavy. And you just don't want to be eating those up. Like, you really, really don't. You know what I mean? And then you look at significant strikes, 49 for Wonderboy, 34 for Buckley. But man, like, it looked like Wonderboy was going to be taking this fight across that first round. I thought Buckley was just trying too hard for the takedown when he should have just been trying to like manage the distance a little bit, get on the inside and try and light him up, or come out with something absolutely spectacular like he did in that third round. Second round again, I thought Wonderboy done really well defending the takedowns, getting back to his feet. Once he was on the feet, he was lighting him up with his strikes, he was lighting him up with his kick, and he was doing what he had to do to work his way towards the win. We get into that third round, we're halfway through it. I'm sitting there thinking Wonderboy's getting this one done, and then all of a sudden, boom! Joaquin Buckley jumps up, absolutely throws everything he's got at him. He launched himself across that octagon to get to Stephen Thompson, lands flush on his nose, and Wonderboy just drops to the deck. I think he either landed another strike or he goes to, and then he was like, nope, hands up, and he walked away, and it was called off, and that was it done. So hats off to Joaquin Buckley, man. That was one hell of a strike and one hell of a way for him to catch him in that fight. So it'll be interesting now to see where Joaquin Buckley goes after this. Who is he going to be coming up against? And is he going to be moving his way up towards that title contender fight as well? Maybe 1 or 2 more, and we could probably see him going for a title shot. You look at Stephen Thompson coming towards the end of his career now. Obviously, he wanted to go on a little title run himself, one more shot at it. He never retired, but it'll be interesting to see where he goes and what he does after this. Kicking off the main card, we had Ketlen Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison was expected to get this one done in the first or the second round. We go and have a look at it. It wasn't a very dominant performance, but she did outstrike a 98-67. She had 2 takedowns out of 8. Ketlen Vieira done very well defending the takedowns. She had 55-24 significant strike. It was a decent fight all around. And did this one go to split? No, unanimous decision as well for Kayla Harrison. Ketlen Vieira landed some nice elbows. I think there was also an accidental clash of heads. Kayla Harrison had an absolute welt on her forehead that like a golf ball. I think if DC had the chance, he'd have been getting his driver out and teeing up that tee shot. Kayla Harrison, if she comes out and fights like that, she might struggle against Pena. Like, she's going to have the striking advantage against Pena because obviously that's the fight that will be lined up next. With the takedowns and everything else, she just didn't seem to be there tonight. Saturday night, Ketlen Vieira definitely had that under control and was like, no, you ain't taking me down to the ground and you ain't doing what you want to do with me. You know what I mean? She was standing and striking with her too, and she made it a battle for Kayla Harrison to get the win on that one. Second fight on the main card, we had Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Bro, Kevin Holland has had 20 fights in the last 5 years. Since 2019 to 2024, Kevin Holland has had 20 fights. 4 fights a year.
I'm built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, how do you do it, sir? How do you do it? I don't even think about it.
Nobody else is as active as this man, moving around from welterweight to middleweight. You know what I mean? Be surprised if we don't see him moving up to light heavyweight at some point because of why not. Yeah, I mean, like, this dude puts in the work and he goes up against the best of the best all the time. So the round starts off. It was going pretty well for Kevin Holland. He definitely seemed like he was landing a little bit more for the round to start with. Roman Dolidze then started finding his range and started doing what he needed to do. Instantly, I was like saying to the boys, because we were doing a watch along on the Fight Week show, was Dolidze needs to get him down to the ground. And it was only a matter of time before he went for that one takedown. He managed to take him down. And then, boom, he was in the mount. He was doing what he had to do. I thought at one point that the ref was going to end up stopping it, but he was getting towards like the end of the round, 20 seconds or something left when he ended up getting the mount, landing some big elbows, landing some big shots. But in the sprawl and in the takedown and in all the rest of it, something happened to Kevin Holland's ribs. He stood up at the end of the round, moved over to the side, and I could see him saying something to his corner, and he was holding the side of his ribs and holding the side of his ribs. And I thought, oh, something going on here. Said it on the watch along as well. I said, nah, something not right here. Like, I'm not sure what's going on. He had the quick replay. You can see where he got crunched. Turns out, yep, it did break his rib. So that was it. Round 1. Fight got called. Roman Dolidze took it. And again, I backed Roman Dolidze. And I think over the 3 rounds, it would have just been continually the same. But Dolidze would have just kept taking him down, getting into mount position. And eventually, because if we look at the last, like I say, 20, 25 seconds of that round, he was punishing him from the top game. And I think that's how that fight would have ended anyway. So hats off to Roman Dolidze. Let's see him moving his way back towards the top. And obviously Kevin Holland, let's see where he goes next and see who he comes up against next, because this man is just active as anything and he'll fight anyone and he's always in a fun fight. So unfortunately for him, broken rib forced him to stop this fight. Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista, the king of Rio. Now, a lot of people think the king of Rio got it done, and a lot of people are mad at Mario Batista for the game that he played and the tactics that he chose to take in this fight. Obviously, he just ran forward, tried to go for a takedown after takedown after takedown. Jose Aldo's takedown defense is next level, man. You know what I mean? At whatever they're saying, 40, 41. Obviously, the UFC have got him down as 38, but if you've watched Show Me the Money podcast, you've got Gilbert Burns talking about he was a few years older than him and he was a blue belt, and now they've got him as 38, and he's like, not a chance. Like 1 year older than him when before he wasn't. So he thinks he's older than what they're saying that he is. Anyway, get into this fight. Round 1. Mario Batista took him to the cage, done what he had to do. He was laying in the strikes. Obviously, when Jose did separate and he managed to get away, he was putting the combinations together too. You know what I mean? Like when he was actually in the center of the octagon and he had some dirty knees going up the middle, and those knees were hurting Mario Batista too. There was moments where you thought that Jose Aldo might start turning this up now and just absolutely blitz him. But Batista's done a very good job at grabbing him, getting him to the side again. And people are going to hate on this for saying that he done a very good job.
What?
But he did what he had to do. And personally, even though it went to a split decision, again, I thought it went to the right person. You had 90 to 65 total strikes. You had 49 to 51 on the significant strikes. Only 2 more significant strikes landed from Jose Aldo, but 0 out of 10 takedowns from Mario Batista. Man, Jose Aldo coming back, I don't think anybody would have expected this from him. You know what I mean? That last fight when he came back was unbelievable. And now against Mario Batista, probably one of the contenders for the division in the future. He's still young. He's still pushing forward. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do. But, mate, I thought this fight was going to be an absolute scrap. And Mario Batista just kept it against the cage, trying to go for the takedown, landing strikes where he needed to. But like I say, anytime, and I said this on the watch along as well, I said anytime Jose Aldo gets it back to the center of the octagon, that's where he's going to start lighting him up. And Batista was worried about standing there with him and didn't want to be there and just kept taking him back. So unfortunately for Jose Aldo, he never got the win on this one. Mario Batista moves on forward. Who's next for him? Song Yadong could be interesting. You know what I mean? There's a few other boys in that division that would be an interesting fight for him as well. Again, future of the division, I think, as well as Song Yadong, it'd be interesting to see who he comes up against next and how soon he would be going for a title fight himself. Obviously, you've got Umar and Merab going for it next. But here we are. That was the end of that fight. A lot of people got annoyed. And I think towards the end of round 3 too, it looked like Jose Aldo was going to finish him. Like there was a big knee in the middle, like I said there, like straight up the middle. Then he started landing some strikes in him, and I thought, oh, this is going to be over pretty soon. But Batista survived, made it to the end of the fight, and got the win. Co-main event of the evening, Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. 25 minutes of nothing.
I should get some sleep.
Pretty much, like, they never really started turning it up until the 4th and the 5th round. Personally, I thought Pennington took it. I didn't think Juliana done that much at all. And you like the first round, second round was boring. There wasn't much action. It was like they were just feeling each other out for ages and just kind of jumping around each other. Pennington wasn't really putting combinations together. She was just going with like 1s, 1-2s. Then she wasn't really following up on the 1-2, where she did start doing that in the 4th and 5th round. She even dropped Juliana Pena too. I think there's a lot of people that, because of the mouth that she ran after becoming champion, a lot of people don't seem to like Juliana Pena. So this is getting some hate. Yeah, I mean, this is getting some backlash for it being an and new rather than an and still. But you look at the strikes, 123 to 112, 2 out of 3 takedowns for Juliana Pena, sub attempts 1 out of 0, 1 to 0, and then significant strikes, evens on 92, and then we had the 1 knockdown from Raquel Pennington. I thought Pennington took round 1 and 2. Edged it 10-9. You know what I mean? Round 3, I think you could give that one to Pena. I think she managed to take her down in that one. And let's just double check that. I think she managed to take her down in the 3rd round. Yeah, took her down in the 3rd round. And then that's when she took her back and she went for the rear naked choke, I believe it was. And I thought, oh, like it was on the chin. It wasn't really under the chin. Wasn't really getting anywhere near locked in. But obviously that's not a really nice place to be sitting when you've got somebody's arm grinding against your chin. And they've taken you back, you know what I mean? Like that could have finished there and then. Moving into the 4th round, like I said, Pennington started picking things up a little bit, started lighting her up a bit more. And then I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round. And then you see from the 5th round, I really didn't think you'd seen enough from Juliana Pena at all to be able to take that fight. We had 35 total strikes to 27 in that one, with 35 of them being significant apparently. So yeah, here we are. I knew Juliana Pena will now be facing Kayla Harrison, who was obviously on that show as well, and is quickly getting pushed towards this title fight. So Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. Harrison is clearly getting that little bit of Dana White privilege, obviously coming into the promotion at the age that she is, with the experience and background she's got. They're quickly just trying to get her through, get her up there and get her to this title shot. So her versus Juliana Pena is what's going to be next. And I think Kayla Harrison will beat Juliana Pena. Whether it's down on the ground or whether it's on the feet, she's definitely going to have the striking advantage on the feet. Pena might be able to survive, but Harrison can get into mount and just start weighing some strikes on her. I think that would be all that she wrote, and that would be it. You know what I mean? Champion within 3 fights in the UFC. Anyway, let's get on to the main fight of the night. Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree Jr. Probably the most anticipated fight all night. You know what I mean? I was nervous when this fight started. I was sitting there going, how is this going to go? Is the boogeyman in Pereira just going to finish him and flatline him in the 1st round or the 2nd round? Nope. Khalil Rountree turned up and turned out, Sonya. I mean, I think the judges had him taking the first 3 rounds, 29-28 to Khalil Rountree, but as they were moving into the 4th round. But dude, the height difference, the size difference was nuts. I did not expect. Obviously, when we had the weigh-in show and stuff, Pereira looked huge, and I really didn't think he was going to be that much bigger than him. But he was, and he walked in there, and they just started slinging leather, son. As you can see here from the total strikes over the fight, 129 for Pereira, 62 for Rountree. We had 61 of his strikes were significant, 127 of them are significant for Alex Pereira. Man, he had 1 knockdown too, where... Wait, come on, son. Khalil knocked him down. It must have been, maybe it was a little slip. You know what I mean? But hats off to Khalil Rountree, bro. This man was almost a champion until he wasn't. You know what I mean? Being in Salt Lake City, fighting at altitude, he went out there in the 1st and 2nd round and 3rd round, and he was just putting it on him. He was explosive. He was fast. He was following up on his shots. He even managed to check a couple of kicks, you know what I mean? And Alex Pereira obviously lands those kicks. But Alex did kind of look worried at times. I think he felt Khalil Rountree's power and he thought, I don't want to be taking those shots anymore. And he was trying to dip out of the way. And as you look at over it, round 1, we had 15-10 strikes apparently. But personally, I thought Khalil took that 1st round. He definitely seemed more active in that 1st round than what Pereira did. 2nd round, 18-11. Bro, like, these have got to be wrong. Because everybody, like, mate, even every round Alex is winning on the strikes and what you look at here. But when you were watching that fight, that's not how it looked. But again, Khalil, very, very explosive, very, very fast. And then he seemed to burn himself out. He was getting into that 4th round and you could just see, man, he was done. Alex, very patient all the way through the fight. And then capitalize when he need to. Very smart about it. You know what I mean? Khalil, like I say, just seemed to waste all that. Well, not waste all that energy. He was trying to get the job done. Round 1, round 2, round 3. Had this massive outburst of energy. Round 4, it all caught up with him. And that was all that she wrote. You know what I mean? Alex Pereira just started lighting him up. Unbelievable images have came away from that fight. The cuts that were opened up. The blood that was pouring out of him, even in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan was like, got a lot of blood coming out your nose, like, and there was just a big gloop of it coming down there. This man was absolutely battered. Alex walked forward, then he started finding his accuracy. Khalil was just stumbling back, a heart of a warrior in him, you know what I mean? And even at the point where he was up against the cage and looked like this is where it is going to happen, Alex is going to mess him up here, Khalil just starts swinging again out of nowhere. I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting that at all. Like, but there just wasn't much left in those shots. He didn't really have much power left. He didn't have much energy left. And then Alex started going to the body. As soon as he started ripping to the body, that was it. Khalil went down. Boom. Fight done. Like I say, massive respect. Everybody showing respect. Salt Lake City showing respect. They all stood up and they were clapping Khalil Rountree because he went out there, like I say, with the heart of a warrior and put on an absolute show trying to go for gold. But Alex Pereira does it once again. He has been the most active champ of the last year or two. It's been insane how many fights this guy has had. How many cards has he been on? And this dude has just been in constant fight against the top guys, and he's been weighing everybody out. Khalil Rountree to go in there and go 4 rounds with this man before he got finished up. One hell of a dog, bro. One hell of a dog. Like, I actually thought he was going to get it done. Like, he gave everybody a glimmer of hope that were backing him. But when you looked at Tapology before this fight, on Tapology, 91% were backing Alex Pereira and only 9% were backing Khalil Rountree Jr. to get that one done. And in those opening rounds, when it looked like he was potentially going to win this fight, some people that had put money on Alex Pereira were probably thinking, uh-oh. But like I say, as time went on, he was patient, he was aware it was happening, and he got the job done in the end. Done exactly what he needed to do. Alex Pereira now is going to have to fight Ankalaev. There's nobody else left in the division. Absolutely nobody else left in the division. Everybody in that light heavyweight division at the moment is coming off a loss, or they're coming off beating Johnny Walker or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, at the moment, he is the man of the light heavyweight division. But I think he's going to take some time off. But that's for another video, people. So make sure you tune into that one when I drop it. But mate, this was a wild, wild night of fights, except from that co-main event. That was a bit of a sleeper, especially over here in the UK when you're falling asleep and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. And then you're making your way towards a main event at 5:30. Bro, like, I could have just fallen asleep and just gone a kip. But anyway, that one was a very, very fun fight. And that's what everybody loves to see. So there you have it, UFC 307 recap. Pretty quick on that one. Didn't spend too much time delving into each single round of all of the fights. Like I say, there were some controversial points there. There was some crazy reffing through the night. There was some crazy judging. Let me know in the comments who you thought should have won certain fights. If you didn't think like I did that the fights went the right way, who should have taken them and why? You know what I mean? What rounds were you giving them? What were you thinking of what made your decision think that Jose Aldo took it over Mario Batista? And don't just tell me, oh, all he did was hold him against the cage, you know what I mean? Because again, that control time and everything all plays into it, and the strikes that he was landing, as you could see on the screen there, was all the same. So, did it go to the wrong person? Let me know in the comments who you thought, and let's talk about it in the comments as well, if you've got any other decisions on that. Let me know what you thought about that ref for a start as well, you know what I mean? That, like, what was he thinking, man? That dude was off his rocker. Was he on some Class A's? Will he ever be a ref again in the UFC? Like, you need to go back and do a course or some shit, because that was ridiculous, you know what I mean? But who do you think next for Alex Pereira? Who do you think's next for Khalil Rountree? And what's your thoughts on Kayla Harrison versus Pena? Like I said at the start of the video, I'm the Rambling Dad. If you're new to the channel, drop a subscription, drop a like, and like I say, jump in the comments, light them up, people. Up until the next one. Peace.
What's going on, people? Arnold Allen here. Make sure you subscribe to the Rambling Dad podcast. Keep up to date with all his MMA content, fight breakdowns, interviews, and all that stuff. Give him a follow, give him a subscription, and yeah, get over there.